coming back to school with me. We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson Wood. I'm the board game teacher. Thanks for coming to the classroom. Today we're taking a look at Smart Mouth by ThinkFun. So in looking at the report card for Smart Mouth, I give the number of players an A+. And that's for the simple reason that the number of players is simply 2+. You could play with 2 people, you could play with more than 2 people. How many more people you want to play with, it really doesn't matter. You could do it as a pairing, you could do it as a small group activity, you could even do it as a fun, quick little activity for a whole class. As the whole family, whatever. It's really no limit to the number of players that you have. In fact, I would even argue that you could play this as a solo mode if you really wanted to, just to test your own abilities and see what you could do on your own. So for that reason, I mean, how else could you do any better than to just say 2+? So for that, A+. For learning, I'm going to give the game an A. I think the game is fantastic in the way that it's so simple, yet so accessible, and it's easily modifiable for different groupings, grade levels, whatever. Simply what you're doing is you have a little thing that spits out 2 letters. One letter is the first letter, one letter is the last letter, so the word you make has to begin with one letter and end with the other, and that's it. So, you can modify to say that the students must come up with words that are greater than a certain number of letters. So no 2-letter words, well, obviously not a 2-letter word, but no 3-letter words, maybe a minimum 4 letters. Or what I prefer to do is to say, okay, you can come up with one, but once you come up with one, that's the word you have to stick with. So if you have A and D and you say and, well, that's only 3 letters. If somebody can come up with something greater than 3 letters, once you give them one, they have a few seconds to come up with another one. Then the opportunity and the motivation to think of bigger, greater words is something that, it really just gets the students thinking of those bigger words. And I would also, in the classroom setting, would encourage you, rather than, as the game suggests, just shout out the words, I would like the students to write them down. And then that way, too, we're encouraging the correct spelling. So if, one student gives me a word, but the spelling is incorrect, they may get partial credit unless another student also has the word with the correct spelling. All right, so that would be my suggestions for Smart Mouth, and that's why I give it the A. For fun, I give it a B+. I think the game is a really fun activity. It's the challenge and the excitement and the competition. It really just kind of gets the students all worked up. It gets them going, and I think it's a fun way to just get them thinking about words and thinking about what words they know, and to just accessing different parts of their brain and quick thinking and the vocabulary and all kinds of things. It's a fun way to develop these skills. For time, I'm going to give the game an A+. I mean, the game is, once you set it up inside the box, it's pretty much set up to go. And after the cleanup, after you're done, is going to be minimal. It's going to take like a couple of minutes. And as you're playing it, it's one of these games that there's no real set beginning, middle, end to the game. It's one of those games where you just kind of play as long as you want to play. So if you want to just play a few rounds, or if you want to play for 10 minutes, you want to play for an hour, if you want to play to the first person to get 3 points, however you want to do it, it works beautifully in any of those ways. Again, it's one of these games like, you can improve upon that. I mean, you can improve upon a game that is simple to clean up and set up and plays for as long as you want to play it. For cost, I'm going to give the game an A. I don't find this in some of the board game shops that I normally go to. I have done a bit of searching online. I didn't find it on Scholar's Choice, which really surprised me, but then they had a very odd search engine for me to look through. I did find it, though, that it was in sale at some Walmarts, and at Walmarts it was about $25. I will, of course, be talking to levelup.ca and seeing if they can get this game in as well. But I just think this game is absolutely fantastic. I would recommend it for just about any classroom. All right, let's take it to the table and see how it's played. So in playing Smart Mouth, this is the game in its entirety right here, this little mechanism. And what you're doing on a turn is you're simply sliding this back to reveal the 2 letters in the front. In this case, the letters are E and B, and then you would have to think of a word that begins with the letter E, ends with the word B, and the first person who can do that gets the points. Now, the game does say to shout out your answer, but I would encourage teachers or my students too, to write down the words. I would encourage people who are playing to write down the words, and that way you're not just letting the class devolve into chaos and noise. So write down their words, and again, students who come up with the same word, I would give the preference to the student who actually spelled it properly, even if one finished a little before the other. So thinking of a word that begins with E, ends with B, well, ebb, as in ebb and flow, that's only a 3-letter word though. But sometimes you're just going to think of very simple ones. So if that was the only one that was come up with, then you take the 2, and then it's simple as move it forward, move it back, and 2 more letters are revealed. In this case, D and R. So doctor, obviously, and even though that's the DR stands for the abbreviation for doctor, doctor is D-O-C-T-O-R. And this can be another instance of where spelling is important as well. So they can know that doctor is DR, but can you spell doctor? But then maybe somebody else might say, like, discover. Okay, well, discover is now longer than doctor, so they get the point instead. And, then maybe that person gets the point because they said discover, whereas I said doctor. And so then they get the point. And then the next set, and that is KC. So, and then, and I'm having trouble thinking of one of a KC on the top of my head. So maybe in that instance, you can just, nobody gets it, then that one just goes back to the box after a certain time. No sense in creating frustration if nobody can think of anything. And then to the next one, we have WL, so Weevil, W-E-E-V-I-L, for those little bugs. Okay, and maybe I get that point. And so at like as I say, you play as long as you want, you play as many rounds as you want, so person to so many points first, and then once you're done, you simply lift this off, and you put these back in again, and you mix them up as you will. I don't want that KC anymore, so I'm going to put that C down here, and we go like that. Boom, and then it goes back in the box, and you're all done. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Smart Mouth. If you have any questions about Smart Mouth or have any other ideas for games you might like to see on the channel or topics you might like me to discuss, please leave me a message in the comment section below. But until next time, I'm Craig Thompson Wood, the board game teacher, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it